definitely come on Saturday.
Yeah, and crazy tacos and drinks made for the occasion as well.
No
How much
tacos,
Lewis
no
and Clark?
tacos.
Oh, my bad. All right, listen.
Unfortunately.
Guys, can you eat tacos on your own time? I'll see you tomorrow.
The mindset of voters in Florida for these special elections.
Thank you, sir. For a lot of times around here, a shutdown would only last a few days. We're now on our second, protracted shutdown of at least part of the government for this Congress. Recesses were usually good motivators to get folks on the same page and strike deals. Is there, something different about this Congress that makes it harder for, members to get on the same page on key funding items or other compromises? Is there something different and, is it harder to work with the other side here? What is the cause of this?
I think that the Congress has changed over the years. I think members have become hardened in their positions, and some of the redistricting has created kind of brighter blue and brighter red districts, and maybe there are fewer members who are willing to kind of find that middle. But quite honestly, I think two answers. My default here, Tyler, is to answer your question, and I think two things come to mind. One is the president only has a passing relationship with the truth. He has an inability to work with Congress. He wants to be an authoritarian. He wants to make every decision and to not make us part of it. He doesn't want to treat us as a co-equal branch of government. I think that's the first piece, is the president doesn't tell the truth. The second is our Republican colleagues' inability to point to the first thing. And that's an unfortunate reality. Fewer and fewer members are willing to say in public, on the record, that the president's wrong, we need a new strategy, we didn't have a pretext to go to war, there was no imminent threat, the American people are suffering. They just won't say that, and they won't admit that their own policies and bills have made Americans' lives difficult, more difficult than when the president was first sworn in. So I think that makes it a little more difficult. Each one of us as members has relationships on the other side of the aisle to try to find a way to work through things, but I think that there's some bigger pieces at play that make it more difficult.
Thank you. Leader Jeffries.
Welcome back in, everybody. I'm Jen Frederick. This is Philadelphia Live. We're going to be with you until 2 o'clock today. We are expecting the president with a White House press briefing. We're also talking to a guy who has been or is attempting to go to 30 NBA games in 30 days. But first, we're going to go live to Washington.
Does every day to keep Americans safe. Now, this is just something that the president wants to do to try to show the American people that he's doing something, when in reality we know what he is doing. He is choosing not to fund the TSA. He is choosing to exacerbate the pain that individuals at airports are seeing on a daily basis. Last question.
If a deal is not reached soon on DHS or ICE, Republicans are starting to talk about using reconciliation for ICE. So what is your red line for ICE reforms in this current round of negotiations, and is your caucus prepared for none of those reforms to happen if this goes through reconciliation?
We have engaged in good faith offers. We have sent very clearly the reforms that we want needed. Democrats don't believe in funding a rogue ICE agency without reform. That is our position. And that means within the Homeland Security bill, that means within the reconciliation, that means you don't get additional funding unless you stop terrorizing communities, separating children, and killing U.S. citizens. Like that's our red line. Now, we've got a lot of strategies and solutions on how to get there, and we're having conversations about that. But whatever vehicle Republicans choose to fund ICE needs to have reform. And if it doesn't have reform, it's not going to get votes on our side. Now, I can't speak to how Senate Democrats feel on this, but I can speak to how House Democrats feel on it. And that is overwhelmingly the sentiment that we have. So we look forward to finding the resolution. We look forward and are hopeful that the administration decides to engage in real reform efforts under the new secretary. And we hope in the meantime that the administration chooses to fund TSA agents and other critical services that DHS provides rather than intentionally leaving them out of the fold. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
So again, that's the House Democratic leadership just talking about, some of the things on their agenda. The audio there was not very good. So we're now going to switch gears a little bit. There is so much happening in Washington, D.C. We're going to go to the Senate now.
The Democrat leader came down to the floor and made it clear that when Democrats say they support voter ID, they mean that they support voter ID just as long as the ID requirements in question are meaningless. That's right. The Democrat leader brought up a bill Democrats introduced a few years ago that included a voter ID requirement. Well, sort of. Let me read a few of the IDs that Democrats' bill would have accepted. A debit card, a lease or mortgage document, a utility bill, any document containing the individual's name, not photo, issued by a government, or a photocopy of any one of the above. Now, sure, Mr. President, some of these things are accepted or requested as adjunct documents when you're trying to get something like a driver's license or a library card, along with, things like photo ID or a birth certificate. But just showing a utility bill to prove your identity? Give me a break, Mr. President. If someone asks you for an ID in any other circumstance, you're going to pull out your electric bill? Can you get into a bar by showing your lease? Can you prove eligibility to work at your new job by pulling out the water bill? No, you cannot. And I'd like to see someone try to get on a plane by presenting a photocopy of their debit card. Mr. President, when Republicans say voter ID, we mean an actual ID with a picture issued by a government. The kind of ID that's required for a whole bunch of things in our daily lives. Starting a new job, driving a car, doing an early pickup at school, opening a bank account, getting a library card. The Democrat leader suggested that photo IDs are somehow out of reach for voters, that they need, quote, inclusive voter ID options. Mr. President, how does the Democrat leader think Americans are navigating all of the scenarios I just mentioned? Well, I'll tell them. With their photo IDs. And yet it's somehow an intolerable burden to ask Americans to bring those IDs with them to the polls. Give me a break. Requiring a photo ID isn't onerous. It's common sense. And the American people agree. Poll after poll shows that Americans of both parties strongly support requiring a photo ID at the polls. And just to reassure my Democrat friends, a 2019 study published by the National Bureau of Economic Research found, and I quote, strict ID laws have no significant negative effect on registration or turnout overall or for any subgroup defined by age, gender, race, or party affiliation, end quote. Mr. President, Democrats are going to have another chance tomorrow to support election integrity by implementing a common sense photo ID requirement. Will they stand with Americans? Or will they continue to oppose any meaningful ID requirement at the polls? Mr. President, I yield the floor. And I suggest the absence of a quorum.
Clerk will call the roll.
Ms. Alsobrooks.
So again, that is the Senate floor. They're open, they're ready to rock. They're talking about all kinds of things that are setting their agenda, not just for today, but for the week. I believe we do have a quad box to show you a lot that is happening live today. I'm going to walk you around this box, okay? So first of all, where you see the picture that says live, we call that a live bug. Top left-hand side, again, that's the Senate. You just heard from one of the senators there. They're all talking about the agendas, what is important to them in their home districts. And then also on the top there, the right-hand side, we're getting ready for a Homeland Security hearing. As you know, the Homeland Security Department has a new secretary. As you probably also know, it has been defunded, and that's part of the reason why airports across the country don't look good at this hour. There is some good news. Look on the bottom there, and you do see the stock market is in the green. That's because, according to market analysts, the oil markets are getting better. They are getting stable, more stable, we should say. So it's one of the longest periods of positivity that we've seen in several weeks. And then you see those lines, you see that image, it says Philadelphia Live. That is the Atlanta airport. And it doesn't look that bad in that image, but we are told that the lines go back for hundreds of people. Many people are just trying to figure out what to do.
Houston has a 4-hour TSA.
And Houston still has that 4-hour TSA line. Remember yesterday when we spoke with someone live, they said that's because in Houston, the call out rate among TSA workers, who again are not being paid, is above 40%. In other airports, specifically here on the East Coast, it's more like 10%. So that is the reason why in many instances you're hearing about lines in the Philadelphia area, but you might be able to get through quickly. That is what's happening live around the country. Right here in Philadelphia, there's a guy, he's attempting to go to 30 basketball games within 31 days. He would break that record by almost 2 months if he can get it done. He's a Penn State guy. He's from South Jersey. We're going to talk to Justin right after the break. All right, welcome back in. I'm Jen Frederick. This is Philadelphia Live. This is Justin. Hello.
Howdy. Thanks for having me, Jen.
Okay, so Justin graduated from Penn State. We are.
We are Penn State, Morristown
And
High School.
Morristown High School, totally local dude,
Oh, yeah.
and also a solid human being. So one of the reasons why you're here, other than to stop in and say hi, is that you're attempting to break a world record, Guinness Book of World Records,
Yes.
going to 30 basketball games in less than 31 days or in 31
In
days.
31 days, all 30 arenas, every single one.
Okay, and it's all to benefit Make-A-Wish.
Yeah, that's right. The whole point of the series is to raise $100,000 on 30arenas.org to support Make-A-Wish.
I like it. So let's begin with, where did you go first?
Yes. So day one, we drove from State College, where I live in Pennsylvania, to Indianapolis.
Okay.
We were supposed to fly, but it was icy, and we were gonna miss. There's delays, so we just rented a car. Cost a lot of money. We drove 8 hours, and we got there right before tip-off.
You were supposed to do this in 30 days.
Yes.
Why is it 31 days?
Because we got delayed in Atlanta and Toronto. So we ended up missing. The Sixers was supposed to be episode 19. They had a whole crazy run of show planned for us with Franklin and a ton of fun stuff. But then we got delayed in Atlanta, and then in Toronto we completely missed our flight. It was horrible. So we ended up calling an audible. We were actually thinking of ending the series because we failed the challenge, 30 arenas in 30 days.
Right.
But all the comments were like, no, you got to keep going. Don't quit. Do it for the kids at Make-A-Wish. And we're like, you know what? You're right. We've talked to so many Make-A-Wish kids throughout this journey, and every single one of them we ask for wisdom because they've been through so much.
For sure.
And they all say never give up. And I'm like, it's just the ethos of the series, right? So we ended up pivoting the schedule completely. We changed everything, and now we're here in Philly for episode 30, arena number 29, Philadelphia 76ers.
I love it. And so you're still going to break a record.
Correct. Anything under 90 days, we get the world record. So we should be good. We're going to have to go back to Toronto, though, on Sunday. So
Okay.
we're going to drive back to Toronto, same day trip, because we technically missed tip-off. That's rule number 2 of the Guinness World Records.
Okay, so wait, you have to be at the beginning of the game.
Inside of the arena and stay until final buzzer.
How do you record that?
We do it everything on our iPhone. We're filming and vlogging on YouTube, daily
Okay.
posting. And then I also need 2 people to sign at the arena, attesting that we were there.
Okay, and did you check in with Guinness before? Like, how does that work?
Absolutely. I emailed them and say, hey, we're going to do this as a fundraiser. What are the rules? And they gave me the 3 rules.
Okay, and when you're done, are you going to sleep? I know you. You've got
don't
something
know.
else going on.
I'm getting married in June, so I need to prep for that.
Yep.
I'm going to sleep for 3 days straight. I'm so sleep deprived, but I'm running on adrenaline. I'm on Jen Fred adrenaline right now. I feel like that's a thing.
It is.
But tomorrow we fly to San Francisco for the finale, 8 a.m. flight. And then we need to go to Toronto for the post-credit scene to get get there before tip-off. And then we're going to go to State College and sleep and take the entire month of April off and then come back in May with some new content.
I like it. Now, wait, real quick. You were at a very historic game.
I still feel like this was AI.
Okay.
83 points, Bam Adebayo. Tickets were $8.
What?
$8. And we
Because
had
no
great
one
seats.
watches those games?
Because regular season game in Miami, there's better things to be doing in
Yeah.
March. I get it. But yeah, we saw Bam drop 83. It was nuts, unreal.
What stadium has been your favorite stadium?
Yeah, so Xfinity Mobile Arena is my favorite stadium. Grew up going to it. My mom used to work there for Comcast at the arena, so she would get us in all the time for free. So I love that place. But second favorite, I mean, I'm not really supposed to say this. The NBA said don't really say favorites, but I kind of have been saying Intuit Dome is very good. It's up there.
Okay.
In LA, the new Clipper Stadium. It's beautiful. It feels like I'm in Mars or something.
Because it's so high tech.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. And the architecture is just insane.
And you're still a Sixers fan?
Of course.
Okay, and so
I'm still a Sixers fan. Yes.
Paul George comes back tonight.
He does.
So you'll see that.
Hopefully, is playing as well.
Do you think he's going to play?
I don't know. I was talking to Mike earlier, and he said he thinks Embiid might be back.
Mike doesn't know anything. JB, is Embiid playing?
Haven't announced.
You know, he's a cheer dad right now, so he's more focused on cheerleading.
WJB in the chat.
Exactly. Do you think they could go on a run if everyone gets healthy?
Yeah, we can't be in the play-in game tournament. We need to get out of that.
We got to get out of that.
4 or 5 seed. We need to be a home team because we thrive at home. We don't lose at home.
Yeah.
So if we get that 4 seed, I think we can make a run.
And when you've been speaking with the Make-A-Wish children,
Yes.
what has been their craziest wish?
So cool. Yeah, so in San Antonio, we actually got to watch a Make-A-Wish be granted.
Oh, that's awesome.
It was unbelievable. 10-year-old by the name of Jorge, San Antonio, or South Texas native. Him and his family drove up to San Antonio, and his wish was to be a San Antonio Spur for the day. And it was the most beautiful thing ever because literally they showed him and his family on the Jumbotron during one of the TV timeouts after he had the experience. But before the game, he was hanging out with the players. He was on the court having the time of his life. During the game, they showed him on the Jumbotron and shared that he's here with Make-A-Wish. And the entire arena for 3 straight minutes was just chanting, Jorge, Jorge.
That's amazing.
It was beautiful. Everyone was crying. I was crying.
Did Wemby pick him up and bring him on? I mean, show him what the basket looks like? He's so
Yes,
tall.
He's so tall. Alien.
Yeah.
But yeah, Make-A-Wish does unbelievable work. The whole point why we're doing this series is to raise $100,000 for Make-A-Wish. We have some really fun donation incentives at 30arenas.org. So if people donate a certain amount, there's like fun things they can unlock.
What's the best one?
The best one is the invitation to the finale. So we've had one person unlock it. It's a $10,000 donation.
Okay.
And you get invited to the finale with me in San Francisco on Friday.
That's
And we get to hang
amazing.
out and go to a game together. But there's some other fun ones: $1,000 tier, $25 tier, $100 tier, etc.
I think you're used to raising money for kids because of Penn State.
Because of Thon. That's where, yes, of course. Yeah. It's in my blood. As a Penn Stater, it's hard not to fundraise.
I love it. All right, thank you for coming to visit.
Thanks, Jen Fred. And next,
Good luck.
Can you sign the scrapbook?
Yeah, of course.
Let's go.
All right, here we are. You
Here's
hold
the pen.
this.
I'll hold the
Okay.
rock. I can hold the
Here
horn.
we go.
Swap.
Where we go.
Yep.
Mhm,
You're gonna
yep.
sign. Are you okay with signing next to Mike? Is that like
Mike
allowed?
Jarek? Yes, it's fine.
That is?
Yeah.
Okay. Cool. Can you go, wait,
Where's he?
Next page.
Here?
Nope, next page. Well, two more actually, I'm
Okay.
sorry.
No, you're
It's
good.
right after New York, so we were in Portland, and then we went to New York, and then the next one, there he is, right
Oh,
there.
I love it.
So sign right there.
Yep, okay.
Dude, Jen Fred was here with Justin. Chat, can we get W Jen Fred in the comments, please? Right now.
Justin. Love it.
Let's go.
Awesome.
Thank you
Keep
so much.
doing amazing work.
I appreciate you, Jen.
All right, we're going to go to a quick 2-minute break. We're going to be right back. JB, any thoughts, JB? Go Sixers.
sir.
Yeah,
Go Sixers,
he has
baby.
his JB cam.
Come on.
Let's go.
Oh, yeah. Thank you.
Awesome. Welcome back in, everybody. I'm Jen Frederick. All right, we were just talking about the 76ers. So there is a person here that is true to all the teams. JB is here, John Brown, and he is wearing his 76ers hat. Let's go.
Yes.
All right.
Yes.
So
Go
first
Sixers.
of all,
Yes.
thoughts tonight. Paul George returns. Maybe Joel Embiid comes
Welcome
back.
Maybe.
Can we hear you?
Can you hear me?
Can you hear him, JP? I can't hear you. So, okay, they can hear you. Talk to me about what you think.
Happy to see Paul George come back. Being suspended, not the shake, not necessarily what we wanted, but happy to see him come back. Now it's time to get healthy, get ready for this playoff run.
And do you think that we can get in a place where we don't have to use that play-in game?
I absolutely do. I think, honestly, this 76ers team and what we have learned about this team while Embiid has been out, while Maxey has been out, is they can beat the trash teams. And that's all you can ask for from a team like that. You can beat the bottom feeders. You can beat the last place teams. So, yes, you know what? This team can't compete with the Thunder and the Spurs without their stars. But, you know, you can certainly beat the Jazz. You can beat the Kings. So now that we've gotten past games like that, get your stars back, and maybe we can turn some things around.
All right, you have a lot of jobs, but one of your jobs on the weekend.
I do have
is
a lot
being
of jobs.
The #1 cheer dad.
That is me. Yes, cheer dad #1. My bank account hit 0 the other day. If you have a family in cheer, you know about hitting 0. My bank account hit 0 just the other day.
And so you're raising money for your daughter to go to nationals?
Yes. My shout out to Penn Elite. We are going to the national competition in Orlando in May. It's really expensive. It's really, really expensive. So just try, if anyone wants to help out, it'd be greatly, greatly, greatly appreciated. We got a GoFundMe
on your Facebook, right?
On my
All
Facebook,
right.
yes.
I love it.
So help out if you can. If you see it, I'm trying to see what it's under. My wife set it all up for me. She just, as a true cheer dad, as a true cheer husband, my wife gave me the link and just said, "Here, share this,"
JB.
and I do what I'm told.
You ended well. You do what you're told. We'll get that up to people on
I
social.
look, man. It is all about coming home from work and my stuff not being in the lawn. I do what I'm told because I love my wife and I love my family.
All right, there you go. JB Cam, thank you for the appearance.
Thank you.
We appreciate you
thanks
taking
for
time
having
out of
me.
your very busy day.
I appreciate you putting me on television, and I hope I don't get in trouble.
I don't think you will. Not yet.
Okay, well, I
We're
appreciate that.
going to go back to Washington, where the House floor is open. We're going to listen in. Again, this is the time of the week where they're basically talking about their home districts, what their agenda is for the week, so we're going to listen in.
Have continued. This year, thanks to President Trump, violent crime is down more than 30%. Robberies have been cut by more than half, and homicides are down sharply compared to last year. That's what happens when we support law enforcement and restore order. Addressing these challenges requires more than temporary measures. It requires a sustained, coordinated effort that brings together the relevant agencies and ensures that responsibility doesn't fall through the cracks. And that's what this bill is intended to do. Public safety should not be a partisan issue. The majority of Americans want safer streets, cleaner public spaces, and a Capitol that reflects the strength and beauty of this country, especially on her 250th birthday. I urge my colleagues to support the rule and the underlying bills. I reserve the balance of my time.
Gentlelady reserved. The gentleman from Massachusetts is recognized.
Well, thank you, Mr. Speaker, and I want to thank the gentlelady from Indiana for yielding me the customary 30 minutes, and I yield myself such time as it may consume.
Gentleman's recognized.
Oh, my God, Mr. Speaker. It is pretty unbelievable that this is what House Republicans are spending time on right now. Wow. I mean, every time I think you can't do any worse, my Republican friends always defy expectations. People are standing in long lines at airports. Flights are delayed. Travelers are confused and they are frustrated. TSA officers are stretched thin, exhausted, being jerked around because Republicans cannot govern responsibly, even though they control everything. Now, let me set the record straight from the outset. Democrats are ready to fund the people and agencies that actually protect the public. TSA, FEMA, the Coast Guard, we agree they need full funding. And I think there's more than a few Republicans who would join with us in that. Just last night in the Rules Committee, 2 Republican members, including the gentlelady from Indiana, voted with Democrats on a motion to fund the TSA. Thank you for doing that. But that vote failed because Republicans voted against making it an order. But clearly there has to be some bipartisan appetite to try to get this thing resolved. I mean, take, for instance, Senate Majority Leader John Thune. I mean, the Republican who offered a deal to the department, offered a deal to fund the department outside of ICE, which, by the way, already has years of funding due to the Republicans' big ugly bill. You know, the big ugly bill, the bill that gave millionaires and billionaires tax cuts, that cut SNAP by $200 billion, that cut Medicaid by $1 trillion. They actually snuck in more funding for ICE and CBP in that. The Republican manufactured crisis could have been over, but that deal was shot down by Trump, who said, in Republican Senator John Kennedy's words, and I quote, "No deals with Democrats," end quote. He continued, and I quote, "It would have worked. We could have had TSA paid by the end of the week, but the president said no deal," end of quote. What is wrong with him? What's going on here? Let's be clear about what happened over the past few days. The Republican president tanked a deal offered by the Republican Senate Majority Leader to get us out of this crisis. This is the worst kind of politics, and it's why people are sick and tired of this Republican Congress. So TSA agents continue to go unpaid. FEMA and the Coast Guard continue to go without funding, all because President Trump decided to throw another temper tantrum. But Democrats are not in charge. Republicans control the House. I wish you didn't, but you do. Republicans control the Senate. I wish you didn't, but you do. Republicans control the White House. It is a disaster for America that a Republican controls the White House, but it's the reality. If they wanted to solve this, they could solve this. And now Trump is causing further chaos by sending ICE into airports. ICE agents are not trained to do TSA's job. Sending immigration agents into airports does not fix a staffing crisis. It makes things more chaotic, more intimidating, more ridiculous. Passing the same DHS bill today for a third time is a gigantic waste of time. Now, there's a clear solution to this crisis, but it means my Republican colleagues need to stand up to Trump for once in their life. In addition to failing to fund the Department of Homeland Security, this rule does a whole lot of nothing when it comes to helping regular people. A non-binding resolution to say that Congress supports DHS. Boy, just what TSA agents want, a non-binding resolution to say, "Hi, how you doing?" I mean, that'll pay the bills. Give me a break. A bill about a single port in Mexico? And another bill about graffiti in D.C.? I mean, are you kidding me? Are you serious when you bring this stuff to the floor? I hate to tell you, but costs are up. Anxiety is up. The country is in trouble. And the president's recklessness abroad is making an already difficult economic picture even more dangerous for working families here at home. Donald Trump has dragged this country into another stupid, illegal war in the Middle East. And there's no doubt about it, working people are going to pay the price. Gas prices are already up $1 a gallon because of this nonsense. And for what? And for what? Yesterday, Trump was bragging that, quote, "we won." Well, won what? Reuters reported at the same time that his administration was preparing to send thousands more U.S. troops into the region. I mean, that's not a strategy. That is not strength. That is a president pretending the war is over while taking steps to drag us in deeper. And let's not forget the dishonesty here. Last Friday, Trump acted like further bombing might be held off because substantial talks were happening. Talks with who? Iran has denied there were direct negotiations. They say talks hadn't even begun. So once again, this administration says whatever it thinks the markets want to hear, whatever it thinks the public wants to hear, and the truth comes later, if it comes at all. I mean, that is what's so infuriating about all of this. These guys, they don't care that regular people are hurting. They don't care that families are barely keeping their heads above water. They don't care that parents are worried about prices or that military families are worried about where their sons and daughters are being sent and why. These guys, they don't care that TSA officers have been left hanging while Republicans play games with basic funding. I mean, let me say this as clearly as I possibly can. Republicans own this. You own this. You have the power of agenda setting. You could fix this in a nanosecond. If you put a bill on the floor today to fund TSA or FEMA or any of the law-abiding agencies, it would pass the House and it would pass the Senate. But that's not what the House leadership is doing. It's a choice, and Republicans own it. But I do want to just say one other thing, Mr. Speaker. When the gentlelady and other Republicans talk about how much they care about our federal workforce, I got to tell you, it rings hollow. Where on earth have Republicans been for the past year and a half when Donald Trump has repeatedly gone after hardworking federal employees? Where have you been? Trump has said federal workers are, quote, destroying the country, end quote. He called them crooked and dishonest. Russell Vought, Trump's own budget director, said he wanted federal workers to be, quote, traumatically affected. When they wake up in the morning, we want them to not want to go to work because they are increasingly viewed as villains, end quote. That's this administration. Where have my Republicans been defending federal workers? These are hardworking Americans, Mr. Speaker. They help ensure that we have clean water. They help our veterans get health care. They help older adults access the Social Security benefits that they have earned. They help small businesses thrive. And they have been treated like garbage by this administration. And they've got and nobody on the other side bothers to stand up for these federal workers. On day one of this administration, Trump and his Doge goons laid out their plan to tear apart our federal workforce. They went on a witch hunt, carrying out mass terminations across government and cruelly forcing longtime upstanding federal employees out of their jobs. Republicans in this chamber cheered that on, even though it caused harm to everyday Americans, people that they represented. Where was everybody? Where the hell were you all? And where were my Republican colleagues? And this is rich. When Kristi Noem said she was going to get rid of FEMA, abolish FEMA. You're on the floor today saying we're going to pay our FEMA workers? Where were you when Kristi Noem was saying we should abolish the entire agency? When Trump abruptly fired 400 DHS employees at the beginning of 2025? Where were you all? Where have you been as Trump is tearing apart the U.S. Department of Agriculture, shuttering offices, forcing longtime staff out of their jobs to the detriment of our farmers, hungry families, and food supply? I mean, House Republicans are supporting this nonsense, this theater that we're dealing with here today on the House floor. So let me be clear. I want TSA workers to get their paychecks. I want FEMA fully operational. That's why I've been on record for weeks trying to reopen these agencies. That is why Democrats have been continuously forced votes on reopening all of these lawful agencies and departments. So please, please, don't pretend that Republicans have always been on the side of federal workers. Trump has made their lives unbearable.
All right, so there you go. That is the House of Representatives. That's Representative Jim McGovern. He's a Democrat from Massachusetts, and he's basically saying the Republicans have control of the Senate, of the House of Representatives, of the White House. So if they wanted to make changes, if they wanted to fund the Department of Homeland Security, which pays TSA workers, they certainly could. The small box there is because we are waiting the President of the United States. We're expecting a White House press briefing a little bit after 1 o'clock. So we're going to take a quick break. We're going to come right back with Shayna and so much more. We're happy you're here today. Welcome back in, everybody. I'm Jen Frederick. This is Philadelphia Live. We're going to be with you until 2 o'clock. Why? In some ways, to accommodate the press briefing that we are expected. Caroline Leavitt, the president's press secretary, is expected to speak around 1 o'clock. If you've been with us, you know typically they are a bit delayed. So expect the spokesperson, Caroline Leavitt, somewhere between 1:15 and 1:30. Hopefully she will be on time, but you never know. That's one of the reasons why we keep our cameras up and live all the time to capture it as it happens. The other thing that we have reporters right here from Fox 29. They're in the field, they're working on their stories, they're making sure that they're gathering their elements. One of those people is Shayna, and she's at a pretty cool event, or was, I believe.
Yeah, this morning, Mayor Sherrill Parker, along with the city, and a lot of different community sponsors coming together for an event that really surrounds America 250 as we gear up for America's 250th birthday later this summer. And this event was really cool. You'll get to see a little bit more of it in the later shows, but essentially, it was all about bringing the America 250 celebrations not just to the tourists, not just to Old City, not just to Independence Mall, but bringing the party to Philadelphia, bringing it to the neighborhoods and meeting people where they're at. And so they announced what's being called the Block Party Bonanza. It's 250 block parties in the city of Philadelphia, among 250 blocks, and it allows for essentially those parties to take place in celebration of America 250. They gave out starter kits with all kinds of fun. So a lot of the block captains in the city were present as they took on, the fun and the startup kit, if you will. There was double dutching, there was water ice, there was all kinds of stuff there. And so the hope is that these America 250 celebrations are not just going to be for the tourists. It's not just going to be for Center City and Old City. They're going to be having celebrations in South Philly and Point Breeze, and be having them in the Northeast. So they're really bringing it to the people. And so it was a really great celebration to kind of see that kind of kicking off. And it's going to be fun to see as, these months progress, just what all these block captains can do in their neighborhood, and also how people can get involved and get their neighborhood as well on that list of 250 celebrations.
All right, thank you very much. And anytime I can see double dutch, that's a good day for me.
Exactly, right?
Awesome. All right, so there's a couple things happening in Washington, D.C. We're going to go back there. We do know that there are people waiting for the White House press briefing. That's what's in the, right there, the small camera. The other thing that we've been looking at is a hearing. It's basically the Homeland Security Department, and they're trying to talk to people who will listen about the funding and the lack thereof. We just heard Representative Jim McGovern from Massachusetts, a Democrat, say if the Republicans wanted to fix this, they could. So now we're going to listen in. Again, this is a hearing, and they're talking about TSA and what they can do to get these workers paid and get everyone rolling.
Albeit a little slower pace, despite the challenges and physical strain caused by the shutdown. However, not every small airport has the same level of community support. Ms. McNeil, as TSO call-out rates continue to rise, are smaller airports at risk to reduce operations or temporary closure, and what would be the impact on the communities that rely on them?
Thank you, Congressman. As the shutdown drags on and we see increases in call-out rates, we'll have to make real-time decisions on how we operate. And so, for example, we have many small airports that operate 1 or 2 lanes, and a few call-outs could really severely impact our ability to run the operations. And so in those scenarios, we would not be able to open the checkpoint at the airport.
Thank you, Ms. McNeil. Could you also tell us how the current lapse in appropriations affects TSA contracts, equipment development, and pilot programs, and what the operational consequences of those disruptions are?
Thank you, Congressman. So yes, during a shutdown, there are delays to our acquisition and procurement and deployment of new technology. And then also on the research and development side, that largely stops as well. And so it does really hinder our ability to modernize TSA and deploy additional technology out there and get the tools out there in the hands of our officers, the tools that they need and deserve to do their jobs every day.
Thank you. Turning to Ms. Barton, with over 40 years of experience as a first responder, assistant fire chief, I take public safety and emergency response efforts very seriously, especially those undertaken by our firefighters. How are U.S. Fire Administration operations, including the National Fire Academy, being affected, and how could a prolonged shutdown impact the preparedness of firefighters across the country?
Thank you, Congressman, and thank you for your service. The USFA has had to cancel several of their training and postpone that to include Police Week that they host in Emmitsburg as well. These critical trainings being postponed are impacting training and responsibilities throughout the nation, as well as the opportunity for emergency responders to coordinate and share lessons with each other in person.
Thank you. Admiral Allen, I was encouraged to see the Coast Guard exceed in fiscal year 2025 recruiting goals, and I was especially glad to see the announcement of the new training center in my home state of Alabama, which will help strengthen the Coast Guard's workforce pipeline. However, that kind of momentum can be fragile during funding lapse. How has the current shutdown disrupted recruiting, training, and your programs?
Sir, thank you for that question. Just a couple points on that. So as we try to get recruits to our training center, Cape May, we're seeing about a 10% delay in those guys actually getting there. So we are already falling behind on the numbers that are there. Second, our food services culinary specialists that make the food there, they rely on vendors in the towns to deliver food. We are not paying those vendors anymore, and we're worried that any day they're going to stop showing up with food to pay our recruits that are at our training centers and our other places.
Thank you.
And I think while we've had great retention, now we are dealing with, hey, if you go to other services, you'll get paid. DHS, continues to be a question.
Thank you. Ms. Barton, FEMA's Center for Domestic Preparedness is in my home state of Alabama. Are the students that are typically trained at the center, how would you assess the impact of these classes and postponements of national security and readiness overall?
Overall, there's been several training, about 45,000 students and emergency responders who are able to participate in those trainings are having to postpone those. Travel has been canceled. I hear firsthand the impacts. Many folks are getting concerned the closer we get to hurricane season and just all the various response situations that come up. There may not be an exact metric, but as the days go on, it continues to get worse.
Thank you. Thank you. And Chairman Garbarino, I yield back.
Gentleman yields back. I now recognize the gentlelady from New Jersey, Ms. Poe, for 5 minutes of questions.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and to the ranking members, and thank you to the witnesses that are here today. I'm really very happy that we are having this discussion. We all recognize that the Department of Homeland Security has a critical mission to protect American people. This is why my Democratic colleagues and I have introduced legislation to fund TSA, FEMA, CISA, as well as the Coast Guard to end this shutdown. Sadly, Republicans are blocking these bills to stop reforming ICE and are holding agencies hostage to hide responsibility. The deployment of violent agents into cities like Minneapolis shows why we cannot give ICE a blank check. We cannot continue to let them terrorize our communities and kill our neighbors. And we should get them out of our airports now. Last summer's reconciliation bill gave ICE and CBP enough funding to sustain themselves for years. So why then are Republicans still asking for more money for ICE? If my GOP colleagues cared about keeping our country safe, they would sign our discharge petition and force a floor vote on our bill to fund TSA and other DHS offices like FEMA and the Coast Guard immediately. Our bill would do everything possible to fund the Department of Homeland Security while supporting reforms that are supported by Democrats, Republicans, and independents alike. The problems we've seen over the last several years, the last several weeks, let's be clear, the last several weeks are not all due to the shutdown. Yet DHS has launched a misinformation campaign to mask their own failures by blaming it on the shutdown. Let me give you an example. The FIFA World Cup Security Grant Program. Last summer, Congress approved $625 million for host cities to enhance security and preparedness for the games. FEMA, an agency the president has gutted, was tasked with administering this grant program. Initial estimates place the delivery of these federal dollars in the hands of host cities by late fall. On November 12th of last year, FEMA's own announcement stated that this money would be awarded no later than January 30th, 2 weeks before the DHS shutdown began. But let me just be clear. If you go to the FEMA website, their very own website, which was published and released last year in August 13th, in 2025, it indicated that it would be awarding many of these projects by no later than September 30th of 2025. That was last year. We are still today talking about this. So, but what FEMA has done, it has absolutely blew past all of those deadlines, leaving host cities in the dark on if this security funding would ever be delivered. Clearly, it was only just delivered for some of them, not all, just this past month. After so long, after so many of us talked about that. Our committee heard testimony from tournament organizers about the chaos and the uncertainty FEMA's delays caused. The growing backlash forced former Secretary Noem to imply that she couldn't award this money because of the shutdown. But last week, all of a sudden, the money was made available anyway. Well, which is it? Is it the shutdown? Is it last year's announcement? What is it? Clearly had absolutely nothing to do with the shutdown. Ms. Barton, thank you very much for being here. You worked in the office of the Secretary. Why blame the shutdown for DHS' own failure to deliver the World Cup grant funding on time?
Congresswoman, I also share your concerns on delays. However, we will say that this is the third shutdown we've experienced. And
Absolutely, no.
During
I'm
shutdowns,
sorry, Ms.
we
Barton,
prioritize the
my
most
question
urgent
to
life.
you was, why would you blame the deadline, the failure to submit those grants on time on the shutdown, when in fact that occurred prior to the shutdown? Please just answer the question. Unless you are unable to answer it because of your own department's very own doing. So please just answer the question. Why blame the shutdown on something that you all had the ability to do prior to the shutdown?
When turning on a machine after being off for over a month, these impacts are going to go beyond. Even though we get funded, the impacts will happen.
Ms. Barton, did I not say that we had the, I'm sorry, Mr. Chairman, sorry. Thank you for your levity. Ms. Barton, I clearly am out of time. Mr. Chairman, thank you for giving me that, the ability to speak beyond that. Let me just say that that's a question that still lies in front of us. We certainly need to do something about it. I yield back.
Gentlelady yields back. I now recognize the gentleman from California, Mr. Fong, for 5 minutes of questions.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you for the panelists for not only your testimony, but your service to our country and your teams as well. America's Homeland Security is not a political game. Every agency tasked with our Homeland Security needs to be fully operational at full strength, period. Last month, the U.S. House of Representatives passed a bipartisan funding package for the Department of Homeland Security. Regrettably, Senate Democrats chose to abandon this bipartisan and bicameral deal, which brings us here today. Our nation, unfortunately, is less safe, and Homeland Security personnel are continuing to work without pay. In my home state of California, we are preparing for the World Cup. We're preparing for the Olympics. However, attendee safety and the success of these games hinge on the Department of Homeland Security's ability to work with state and local law enforcement agencies, even through government shutdowns. I wanted to ask each of the panelists, I know each of you have a different role to play in the planning, but have there been any key planning milestones that have been missed due to the shutdown when it comes to the planning for these international events? And if DHS were fully funded today, how long would it take to get back on track? And we can start from that role and go on down.
Yes, sir. As we do planning for these big events, we have missed milestones, and our estimate is every day that there's a shutdown, it takes us 2.5 days to recover.
Ms. McNeil.
Congressman, I guess that the impact is felt really on multiple fronts, but first it's about staffing the airports that are supporting the FIFA locations.
So again, this is the House Homeland Security hearing. Basically, they're talking about the effects of the DHS shutdown. The woman you see there is the acting administrator of the TSA. Some of the things they've talked about is potentially having to shut down small airports. If they only have 1 or 2 lanes and people call out, they might not be able to operate those airports. It's something we're going to dip in and out of. The small box there, we're still waiting for the White House press briefing. We're expecting Caroline Leavitt any minute. When it happens, you're going to see it live right here. The other thing that we're talking about is everything that might be happening locally. In Lower Merion, they're talking about laptops. And no, we're not talking about the laptop story of about 10 years ago. It's a different issue. Greg Payne is on that story. Good afternoon to you, Greg.
Hey, good afternoon, Jen. Yes, so I mean, over in Lower Merion, there was a meeting that took place on Monday, and there it was school officials, parents, and even some students that were in attendance as well. And one of the things that was brought up during that meeting on Monday were parents that were frustrated about the Chromebook usage within the Lower Merion School District. A lot of the parents were saying that they feel as though there's too much use of it. Kids are using it in class too much, even to the point where they're getting distracted. They're, on different platforms, YouTube and social media and things like that, when they should be learning. So there's been this kind of giant push from the parents about this concern. And so today we had an opportunity. We had stopped off at Lower Merion High School. You see us in the car right now because we're going to meet up with the head of one of the organizations, PA Unplugged, which is a group that's not fully against technology in schools, but one of their things is just kind of trying to allow it to to not go as I guess not utilize the technology as much, that it would just kind of assist in the schoolwork and not be like a fully technological situation where you're using these Chromebooks all the time. And so we're going to be speaking with that person, and they live further out in Delaware County, so that's why we're in the vehicle. But we did have an opportunity to speak with the parent over in Lower Merion. He was talking about the fact he has a son that's a freshman over at Lower Merion High School. He had mentioned that he is aware of it with the Chromebooks, and he says that even his son gets distracted. There's been times where he's talked to his dad, and he's like, "Oh yeah, I was in study hall and I was watching a soccer match." But at the same time, the parent had mentioned that he doesn't feel as though it's too out of control, but he does also understand some of the concerns from parents that that are seeing this and wanting the usage of these Chromebooks to be a little bit less. So we also did have an opportunity. We ran into somebody from the school district of Lower Merion to try to see if they had any comment about these concerns. They kind of said they're leaving it up to, there was a meeting on Monday, and they don't really have any comment about the concerns that the parents are having having. And even outside of it, there's even seeing on social media, there's even some teachers that are concerned about this as well, saying that while they're teaching, there's a lot of kids that are distracted, and they would even like to see the Chromebooks used less. A lot of them trying to remain anonymous because, of course, they're fearful of any type of retaliation. They don't want to lose their jobs or have any issues. But it has been documented on social media. You've been seeing some folks that have been talking about that are, teachers that have been talking about their concerns about the Chromebooks as well. So I know Lower Merion School District, they did ban the cell phones, and we even asked the father that we spoke with, do you feel as though the Chromebook usage is even more now because the phones have been banned? He was like, he's not really sure, but he wouldn't be surprised if that's the case. But yeah, that's essentially the story we're working on today.
It's interesting to me, and again, I'm a Lower Merion mom. I've had kids go through the district. I have a kid in the district. I would have thought it would be mostly the younger kids, right? Because in kindergarten, they're handed one of these devices. When they get to high school, in my estimation, in many instances, they need to get tech ready for college, because it doesn't get any different in college. But, from my experience, I think they have a device in their hand all the time. One of my kids will read a book, a real book, not a Kindle. The other kid will not. Brody Frederick will not. It'll be interesting to see how that goes. I do think the kids that are younger than 9th grade definitely need a separation. The other thing that's great, on the other side of it is, in Lower Merion, lots of activities, lots of sports, lots of music, lots of arts, where I'm not sure they are on a laptop or a Chromebook for that. So it'll be interesting to see what they do. Greg, thank you very much. All right, so the other thing that we're watching right now is this landmark civil trial. You're seeing it right here. This is the outside of a courtroom in Los Angeles, and we've been kind of using our spidey senses, our reporter senses, as you see people kind of rushing in. It looks as though there may be a verdict in that case. And just so you know, this is the longest ever a jury has deliberated in a case like this. 12 jurors have been mulling over a verdict every weekday since March 12th, nearly 6 hours a day. And basically they're being asked whether or not Google, which owns YouTube and Meta, which owns Facebook and Instagram, was negligent in designing the apps. And if that negligence contributed to depression, anxiety, to one woman who is 20 years old, known in court as Kaylee GM, her name and everything is really being held, her last name, because of privacy. And basically what they're trying to say is that it is provoking or triggering young people who already have mental illness. The jurors have to answer yes to a bunch of questions, including whether or not the two tech giants knew their products were dangerous, but failed to warn young users. So again, this is happening out in Los Angeles, and we do believe that there may be some sort of a verdict. There was lawyers yesterday who were asked, do you think it's going to be a deadlock jury? And Mark Lanier, who is one of the nation's most successful mass tort trial attorneys in the country, what he said yesterday when asked, quote, I think this is a very careful jury, meaning they're looking at everything. Again, they have had testimony from people who were younger when they were using these apps. But we've heard from countless parents that they believe that these apps contributed to depression, contributed to anxiety, and they also believe, again, these are the plaintiffs, the parents, that the big tech companies knew of this and not only did nothing to solve it, but basically revved it up, making sure that these apps were available to young people with mental illness. You do see some pictures there. I'm assuming those are some of the children that the parents have talked about. So here's what we're going to do. We are waiting. You know what? We're going to go to Chopper real quick. This is back here in our area. This is Lower Saucon Township. There is an ongoing incident right there. You do see some serious trucks in terms of police manpower. So again, the big box there is Lower Saucon Township. That's Skyfox. And what we're being told is that there is a shelter in place for a 12-mile radius. We're being told that police have surrounded a house because there is a report of a male with a gun. And look at this, what we see here. We see a vehicle that is traditionally used by SWAT officers, and we see police officers following that truck. Actually, they just got into a car with rifles drawn. So we're going to watch this whole thing unfold live on television. So as you can see, 1, 2, 3 traditional police cars. Skyfox, I guess, is there for now, but they may be leaving. But again, this is Lower Saucon Township, where the reports are there is a man with a gun. We were told at one point that police were surrounding a home, but we don't see that, candidly, because Skyfox isn't looking at a home. They're more looking at these police cars. But they did describe it as a police standoff. And there you go, as you see a bigger image of it. It looks like it's a relatively secluded area. I think Skyfox is going to zoom in now. It does look like there are police officers in the street there. Not sure if Skyfox is zooming into a home that might be the center of activity. Not sure if this whole thing has resolved itself. Certainly if Skyfox is there and there's a bunch of police officers there, we don't believe that it is resolved. But what we had been told is that Skyfox was going there because, quote, police were surrounding a house. And again, that we were also told that there was a half-mile radius, a shelter-in-place order. So what that means is they're working on something and they do not want people who live in that area to be there in case something goes wrong. So what we're going to do is we're going to take a quick 2-minute break. There's a lot happening today. We're waiting for that White House press briefing. We'll be right back. Welcome back in, everybody. I'm Jen Frederick. Okay, we are waiting for a White House press briefing. We believe that Caroline Leavitt is going to be speaking at any moment. At the same time, we're also waiting to hear if there's a verdict in a landmark case where plaintiffs right there in Los Angeles are suing several companies. Google, which owns YouTube, and Meta, which owns Facebook and Instagram. Basically, the plaintiffs in this case have said that the companies knew that minors could access their sites and knew that it could cause extreme mental illness, depression, and anxiety society. This jury has had the case for 8 days, 6 hours a day. It's one of the lengthiest trials like this the country has ever seen. And lawyers looking at it say they do believe this is a very careful jury. At the same time, everyone is trying to figure out how to get people who are traveling through the airport quicker. They want to make sure that TSA workers are being paid. So right there, that is a hearing where we're talking about just that. As we wait for the president, we're going to dip in here.
Capacity within it. So we work very hard to get the capacity we need. Now that we have ships in those yards and when they're doing maintenance, we haven't been able to pay them for 40 days. So we are seeing stop work orders come in on several of our ships, and then several of our vendors are saying they are not going to continue to work with the Coast Guard because they can't be guaranteed pay.
So, Admiral, so those are the cutters, aircraft, small boats, critical systems that are under contract that must be paused during the shutdown?
Yes, sir. So the payment of those, yes, sir.
Yes, sir. Do you know ballpark how many Coast Guard assets are going without maintenance due to funding gaps?
So, sir, right now we are allowed to contract for that maintenance. It's then just dealing with the vendors that are providing it, and we're watching that number grow every day on those that are deciding to cut off the free support to the Coast Guard.
Great, thank you. And I'm out of time. Thank you, witnesses. We appreciate you being here today. Mr. Chairman, I yield back.
Gentleman yields back. I now recognize the gentleman from Louisiana, Mr. Carter, for 5 minutes of questions.
Mr. Chairman, thank you very much. You know, I've repeatedly listened to my colleagues suggest that this is a Democratic shutdown. Are you aware, Ms. McNeil, that there were at least 5 opportunities in the Senate to pay TSA, and it was blocked by Republicans? Are you aware of that?
I'm aware of the votes
Thank you.
on the
Thank
full
you.
Department of Homeland Security where the
Ma'am, are you aware that there were 5 opportunities and it was blocked where we could have paid TSA? The answer is yes. Mr. Chairman, could I ask you to remind these individuals that they're under oath? Please.
Yes, the witnesses are reminded that they are under oath.
Thank you very much.
Answer the questions to the best of your ability.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Are you aware, Ms. McNeil, that in 2023, under the leadership of then Chairman Benny Thompson, TSA was granted a raise? Yes or no?
I am aware.
Are you aware that there wasn't a single vote on the Republican side in this committee to support that raise?
I don't know the details.
You knew that we voted, we did it, and you know that, but you don't know how the vote went down.
I wasn't.
Well, I will tell you how it went down, ma'am. Democrats unanimously voted for it, Republicans unanimously voted against it, but you got that raise. That's important to note, because what that demonstrates is the support that Democrats have for men and women who put on the uniform and work for us every single day as we are fighting to make sure they're funded now. Ms. Barton, the state of Louisiana currently.
All right, so again, that is a House Homeland Security meeting. They're basically trying to figure out what the impact is of the fact that TSA workers are not getting paid, the lines in the airports. They've also gone back and forth a bit about blaming someone. Who is to blame with all of this, and when can they get the situation resolved? At the same time, back here in Philadelphia, you might have heard about this. For every Flyers assist this season, Penn Medicine and the Flyers are donating 50 pounds of food to local communities in need. So today, some Fly guys, some alumni, some big guys are over there literally helping out. What's going on?
How you guys doing? Thanks for having us.
And
I'm down in Fuel Abundance.
I'm proud of you. Now, okay, what have they told you about what you have to do physically? I know you're like still in the press conference, but what are you guys actually going to be doing?
No, so what we're doing is you see these packs here. This is all canned food. We're hitting up boxes, 30 pounds in each box, and then we're packing them, taping them up, labeling them. Make sure you label them. You can't forget the label. That's the most important part. Stack them 4 high on this pallet here. That's a completed pallet. So everybody here, you can see behind me, they're all packing in the cans, boxes, and then heading them on the trailer to get them out of here. So yeah, the Flyers are doing a pretty good. Look what I got here too. Gritty's here.
Yeah.
I heard you have a crush on him.
Yeah, a super crush. And we know your nickname's the Fridge. Is that why you're there with the food?
I'm a fine connoisseur of canned food. I love it. I love it. We got peanut butter too. Peanut butter too.
All right.
No, it's a great cause down here. Phil Abundance.
Who, between you and Gritty and some current players, who's going to do the most work?
Well, I will. Hartsy's here too. Hartsy's here too. There's some Flyers staff here. Some of the hustlers at the Flyers staff are down here too. They're helping out. So
are the bosses there? So everyone is trying to kind of, smooch up to the boss to make sure that they're doing their work?
Oh no, it's the Flyers. He's making sure everybody's working hard. That's what he's doing. Having a good time.
Isn't this kind of in the guy's nap window? Isn't when this is like hockey players like to nap?
Pre-game naps? Yeah. Right after the pre-game meals, we have our pre-game naps. But we're well removed from that. That's for the current guys. We're just the washed-up bum alumni.
Wait, you got alumni doesn't get naps?
Yeah, we have. Well, some of the older guys have to take them in the afternoon, but that's not because of hockey.
You're there. I'm sure you're seeing a lot of the people at Phil Abundance. They have to be happy to see you guys.
Oh yeah, it's a big cause. They got a lot of people coming in here and making sure that they're getting all this stuff done. All the volunteers at Phil Abundance, they're all here all the time. We're just showing up for this event and trying to do as much as we can in a short period of time, but they always have this place running and full. It goes to hospitals, it goes to schools, it goes to people in need. So Phil Abundance is a staple in Philadelphia. Flyers have always been associated with it too. So we're neighbors pretty much. We play down here and then we help people out too.
Okay, I'm going to give you a quiz. You're welcome.
Oh boy.
This program has raised, you can either give me the equivalent of meals or for this season or meals to date. And I will tell you it's in the thousands.
Yes, it's 50 pounds for every assist that the Flyers are doing. And I think it's up to 15,000 pounds as of right now with Penn Medicine as well. Penn Medicine's the one that are doing that deal with the Philadelphia Flyers, and that's what we're doing. We're packing all of that. It's about 15,000 right now.
You actually won that. It's 11,450 meals or 15,000 pounds.
Yes, right. They're good around here.
All right. Thank you for doing that for us. We appreciate it. Go Flyers. And maybe we'll see you in the postseason.
Yes, maybe. The dream is still alive.
All right. Bye, babe. Good to see you. I mean, who knows? But I mean, we hope so. All right, so we are going to go back to that hearing, basically where the House members of the Homeland Security Department, they're actually having a hearing about what to do with the TSA lines, with the government partial shutdown. We're going to listen back in.
Caused the shutdown. Please raise your hand. Please raise your hand if you believe it caused the shutdown. Let the record reflect that no one has raised a hand. I ask this question because the president is putting politics above people. I have in my hand an article from The Hill. It is styled, Trump, no shutdown deal until Democrats support Save America Act. The real reason the shutdown continues is President Trump's requiring the passage of bills unrelated to the shutdown. That's the real reason. Let me read from the article in part. President Trump late Sunday, this was written on 3/23/26 a couple of days ago, said there will be no deal to end the partial government shutdown until Democrats join with Republicans to pass the Safeguard America Voter Eligibility Act, the SAVE Act. Now, this article reads in part, Senator Majority Leader John Thune has reportedly said repeatedly, there aren't enough votes to get the bill over the finish line anytime soon. Trump has written that Republicans should support this bill and that they should somehow require Democrats to do so. But here's a quote from the president. And he's talking about Republicans and Democrats who don't support this bill. They will never be elected again. In other words, lump everything together as one and vote with 3 exclamation points, kill the filibuster. Now there is the real reason. The president desires to kill the filibuster. The requirement that you have 60 votes to get to cloture before you can pass a bill with 51. He wants to kill the filibuster. And if he can accomplish this, then he'll do some other dastardly things. But killing the filibuster is his goal, and as a result of this being his goal, he is pushing the Republicans to use 51 votes as opposed to continuing to use the rule that requires 60. The president doesn't care about the TSA workers. This is not about helping them. It's about getting his way. And he has complete control of the Republican Party. He really does. And given that he controls it, he is demanding that it obey his command to kill the filibuster. And he's providing.
All right, as we continue to listen in, you see that Al Green, you know, he's had a very colorful past year at the 2 different State of the Union addresses. He was asked to leave. He's talking a little bit about what he wants to happen with the DHS partial government shutdown. At the same time, we're going to take you back over to LA because we have learned, the Associated Press is putting out an alert that there is a verdict in this trial. So again, 12 jurors for how many days? It's been since March 12th. So this is the 8th day of deliberation, 6 hours a day. They have basically been mulling over whether or not Google, which owns YouTube, and Meta, which owns Facebook and Instagram, designed their apps on purpose to contribute to the depression and anxiety of young people. Basically, the plaintiffs in this case have said the 2 tech giants knew these products were dangerous and failed to warn young users and, most importantly, their parents. So that is what's happening now. And the jurors had to answer yes to both of those questions for either defendant. And then they're also going to be asked to award some damages. They will be paid specifically to a 20-year-old woman. She's now 20, known as Kaylee GM. Her privacy is, they're trying to conceal it in a bit. But again, both of these companies, the jury will try to find out, will decide whether malice or fraud was committed in this landmark case. As you probably know, many parents have testified that they do believe these companies and social media in general is detrimental to their kiddos. So again,
Jury finds Instagram and YouTube liable.
They've been found liable. So again, the jury has found Instagram and YouTube, remember, 2 different companies, so it's really Meta and Google, both now liable in this landmark social media addiction trial. All of this has been happening out in Los Angeles. And again, this jury had it for quite some time. It is a first of its kind lawsuit. And again, questioning whether the tech giants should be held responsible for harming children using their respective platforms. You do see the media is gathering out there. We don't know if the prosecution, I should say the plaintiffs, or the defendants are going to come out at any time. We do know that the judge in this case reminded members of the public and the media not to, cry out. She didn't want any kind of visible reaction in her courtroom. Of course, that's because they want to be able to figure out what is next in all of this. So the plaintiff, again, a 20-year-old woman described as Kaylee or KGM in the documents, she actually testified. And she says that her use of social media at a child, basically she became addicted to the technology. And again, she says it exacerbated her mental health struggles. And now a jury has said they agree. Meta and Google owned YouTube, were the 2 main defendants in this case after TikTok and Snap actually settled before this trial began. So again, a lot of different social media tech companies were the defendants in this case. The jurors listened to about a month of lawyers' arguments. They heard from Kaylee herself. They also heard from Mark Zuckerberg, who you know is the lead of Meta, and then Adam Mosseri, which is YouTube's CEO. Other people were not called to testify. It was the two tech giants. But again, if you're just joining us, there is a verdict in this case, and the verdict has said that they should be liable and they should pay this one plaintiff. What will be interesting to see as this continues is, what does this mean for the countless parents, for the countless families who have testified in front of Congress about what they perceive are the dangers of these social media platforms. We know that in other countries, I believe Australia, there is no access to anything like this until you're at least 16 years old. Candidly, I don't know how they keep it away. We know that kids all over the United States use these different social media platforms, and they're not supposed to technically be able to use TikTok or YouTube until they're older, but they do figure out a way to do that. So again, the jury in Los Angeles has reached a verdict, and basically they are saying that they do believe case, all of it revolving around social media addiction. Basically, the plaintiff in this case said that these different platforms drove her addiction, they exacerbated her mental illness, and on top of all that, what her lawyers have said is that the tech giants, the humans behind these social media applications, knew that this was possible, knew that they could to do this. And again, it was all part of kind of driving young people to these different platforms. So again, we've got two things we're watching. We're watching, waiting to see if someone's going to come outside here. And then the other thing that we are watching is we're waiting for, candidly, the White House press briefing to begin. So we do believe both of these are going to get active in just a few minutes. So what we're going to do, take a quick break. We're going to come back. There's a lot happening today. We've got all of it right here for you. Welcome back in, everybody. We've got two live cameras. We're waiting on two different events to happen. In the big box, that is a Los Angeles courtroom where a jury has just found Meta and YouTube, two tech giants, liable in a first-of-its-kind lawsuit that aimed to hold these social media platforms responsible for harming kids and knowing that they were doing just that. The smaller box there, we are waiting for a White House press briefing. The press secretary, Caroline Leavitt, she was expected at 1 p.m. This is typically how it works. They set the 1 p.m. and then we rarely see her before 1:30. So let's go back to the big box there in Los Angeles. This decision came after more than 40 hours of deliberation, 9 days, and more than a month since the jurors had really heard opening statements in the trial. There was a plaintiff. She's now 20 years old. She's identified as KGM or Kaylee, and she testified in this case. Basically, she has said that when she was younger, she used social media and she became addicted to the technology. That's the word she used. She became addicted to the technology, and she said that addiction really made all of her mental health issues way worse. Apparently, she began looking at YouTube at age 6, Instagram age 9, and she told the jury she was on these social media platforms all day. You should know that TikTok and Snap both each settled before this trial, so it was interesting to see what would happen. Now, the jurors in this case were told, do not look at the content of the post, do not look at the videos. Really what they were talking about was more of the technology behind all of this. They consistently, the lawyers who were representing the plaintiff or Kaylee, they kept talking about the safety features and the guardrails that might have been available or unavailable, right? Because basically they were saying there was none available. Certainly the lawyers who were representing both platforms said there are guardrails, there are safety issues, and they were able to, the jury didn't believe that. The jury believes that these two mega tech companies are now really going to be held responsible. And just how big is this case? Some experts are saying this is just like when there was cases against the big tobacco companies and the big opioid companies. Certainly, the plaintiffs hope that the social media platforms will see similar outcomes, pay money, just like the cigarette makers, the pharmacies, the drug companies, and all of that. And so, you know, they were just talking about the fact there are so many families out there who have testified in front of Congress, who have basically said that these social media platforms are very, very dangerous. You know what? We're now going to go to Chopper. Chopper, Skyfox is what we call it, is in Florence Township, New Jersey, near a water tower is basically what we were being told. As you can see, there are police, there is an ambulance there, and as you can tell, they're at the base of a water tower. The question is there a human being that is involved in this issue? We don't know that, right? We know that but it looks like they have a rope that they are attempting to use in some way. I am curious if there is a person that might be stuck. So as we look at these live images, I'm actually going to walk into a different part of our newsroom and ask the question. It's one of the things that you'll see right here on Philadelphia Live. Guys, the images that we're looking at on Skyfox, are they attempting to help a person? Is there a person in peril? There was a person that's on the water tower. They're no longer on the water tower. Tactical rescue is oh, look at that. Okay. So yes, they did rescue someone from this water tower. So again, this is Florence Township, New Jersey, where again, and we really love our resources. We have all of them out there in the newsroom. But again, look at this, Florence Township, New Jersey. We see the rope, so we think this might be the end of a rescue. That tactical rescue got up there and rescued someone who was on top of that water tower. The question is, why was there a person on a water tower in Florence Township, New Jersey? So again, we're using the words water rescue because it's a water tower, and we're told that these individuals have been in charge of rescuing someone. Now, interestingly, there's still a cot or a gurney of some kind, and they're still standing there. So I do wonder if they are still in the middle of bringing that individual down, because they certainly are not going anywhere. And you would think if the person involved had already been rescued and brought down, these individuals would not be standing there so closely. And you do see some of them wearing helmets, because if someone is being brought down from a water tower, you have to wonder what exactly is going on there, and could there be something broken up there? We don't know the circumstances behind why an individual was on the water tower. It does look like they're all talking. Now they've got more than one rope, so you have to wonder if there are safety ropes there. I see 1, 2, 3, 4. I see 2 neon yellow or green. I see a blue rope, and I do see a red rope. So I'm wondering if they potentially have a person up there that is secure and stable, and they're trying to figure out how to get that person down to the level, the ground level. And you know what? They're bringing that gurney over, which indicates to me that there is going to be someone who is going to be brought out of that water tower. Again, this is in Florence Township, New Jersey, and put on that gurney. Again, if it is a civilian that was up there, we're not sure if it was a worker that was up there. We're just not sure exactly who that was. But what we have been told, and the reason why Skyfox is there, is we're basically watching this live with all of you guys as this unfolds in Florence Township, New Jersey. We do believe that someone is going to be brought down from there in the next couple of moments, only because we saw that gurney was kind of moved closer. And you see the guys, they're looking up, they're trying to figure out exactly what is happening. Again, we're going to stay with this because we do believe that the person being brought down, that it's going to happen, again, momentarily. Florence Township, North or South Jersey? South Jersey. And the other thing that you're looking at, obviously, that smaller picture, we're still waiting for the White House press secretary, Caroline Leavitt, to come to the podium there. Certainly with the conflict in the Middle East, with what's happening with airports and TSA workers. What's that? Burlington County. That's Burlington County is where Florence Township is. But we do believe that Caroline Leavitt, when she finally makes it to that podium, she will have quite a bit to discuss. And it will be interesting if she does reference not only the TSA issue, not only what's happening with the conflict in the Middle East, if she mentions that social media trial. Because certainly when they are at the podium, they are asked about just about anything and everything that's happening. Okay, so again, focusing on the big box, this is Burlington County, New Jersey, Florence Township. We do believe that at some point, someone was up on top of that water tower. I'm going to walk back out to Jackie, who's one of the people that helps us here, because I think she had a big number. Oh, I like that a lot. We're going to talk to Jackie because I do believe she had. Jackie, I'm going to come out to you if you don't mind. You gave me some perspective. How high up is this water tower?
Don't know how high up it is,
Okay.
but it looks very high.
And do we know who was being rescued from that tower? Was it a worker or someone else?
I believe it might be a worker.
Okay, all right. And we're looking at these live images with you guys. Thank you. Anything that you have, come back in because we're just trying to figure out exactly what. You know what? So what we're going to do is we're going to switch the boxes, all right? We're going to go to a big box with Caroline Leavitt, the president's press secretary, and I say we do a small box with this water rescue in Burlington County.
New trade markets bolster the farm safety net, double the death tax exemption, end taxes on rural property loan interest, and create rural opportunity zones. Also, I'm pleased to announce that President Trump's meeting and long-awaited meeting with President Xi in China will now take place in Beijing on May 14th and 15th. First Lady Melania and President Trump will also host President Xi and Madam Peng for a reciprocal visit in Washington, D.C. at a later date to be announced this year. Turning to the ongoing military operations in Iran. The United States military continues to decimate the terrorist Iranian regime's offensive and defensive capabilities. Just over 3 weeks in, it's abundantly clear that Operation Epic Fury has been a resounding military triumph. More than 9,000 enemy targets have been struck to date. Compared to the start of the operation, Iran's ballistic missile attacks and drone attacks are down by roughly 90%. The United States is also annihilating the Iranian regime's navy. We have destroyed more than 140 of their naval vessels, including almost 50 mine layers. This is the largest elimination of a Navy over a 3-week period since World War II. Again, let me reiterate, this is the largest elimination of a Navy on the face of the planet in a 3-week period since World War II. We are systematically dismantling Iran's defense industrial base, which will prevent future threats to the region. Our military also remains laser focused on eliminating the regime's threat to the free flow of energy through the Strait of Hormuz. Over the weekend, we dropped several 5,000-pound bombs on an underground facility used to store equipment, including anti-ship cruise missiles and mobile missile launchers positioned along the coastline of the strait. Our military efforts grow more successful with each passing day, steadily degrading Iran's ability to terrorize merchant ships. For all of these reasons, we are very close to meeting the core objectives of Operation Epic Fury, and this military mission continues unabated. From the outset, President Trump and the Department of War estimated it would take approximately 4 to 6 weeks to achieve this critical mission. 25 days in, the greatest military the world has ever known is ahead of schedule and performing exceptionally. Day by day, the Iranian regime is being crippled, and their ability to threaten the United States and our allies is being significantly weakened. Their ambitions of building a nuclear weapon have also been crushed to an even greater degree than they were in Operation Midnight Hammer in June 2025. That's why you're beginning to see the regime look for an exit ramp. They recognize they are being crushed, their ability to attack American and ally forces, as well as their ability to defend their own territory is dwindling literally hour by hour. Following President Trump's powerful threat on Saturday evening, it was made clear to the United States that Iran wanted to talk. President Trump is willing to listen. As President Trump announced on Monday, the United States has been engaged over the last 3 days in productive conversations, which led the president to temporarily instruct the Department of War to postpone.
Okay, so again, we do have the White House press secretary, Caroline Leavitt, she's talking. And then in that smaller box, it looks like the rescue is about to happen. Now the big box. Thank you very much, JP. So again, this is Florence Township, New Jersey. That's Burlington County. You're looking at this live with the help of our Skyfox. So this is a live camera. It looks like they're trying to figure out how to get that person out of there. Interestingly, we do believe that it was some type of a worker that was stranded up there in some way. We don't know what type of worker or how they got stranded. What we do know is that they were up there, and there is a significant amount of people that are trying to help that person get down. We know that, a lot of these water towers, there are people that are trained to go up there and kind of manage them. And so interesting that they have this, rope system out there. You do see a ladder there. You also see, a gurney, and they were kind of like, preparing, the covering the gurney, which is why we kind of suspected that it was going to happen sooner rather than later. And certainly they appear to be looking up more than they did originally, and messing with the ropes a little bit. So again, this is one of the things that we do each and every day. We turn on these live cameras. You get to see everything out as it's happening. We kind of watch as it unfolds together, so that you can definitely see what is happening and just really see it for yourselves. Not only with a rescue like this, but with press conferences from not just here in the New Jersey, Delaware, and Pennsylvania area, but all across the country and sometimes across the globe. So that's why we have Caroline Leavitt up. Again, she is the president's press secretary. She's been talking about the conflict in the Middle East. And this is typically what happens during her, what we call availabilities. It's when she is available to speak with the press. So she's still giving her opening remarks, and we've got our eyes trained right there on a rescue that is happening in Burlington County, New Jersey. So considerably a lot closer to us than Washington, D.C. So we certainly want to make sure that whoever is coming down is getting taken care of. And by the looks of it, this is happening very carefully, very slowly. And the one question I have is, why wasn't the person able to use that ladder, if you will, themselves. Typically when we see people that are, professionals working on bridges, working on buildings, working on towers, working on anything with an elevated height, they wear a considerable amount of safety gear, harnesses. They make sure that they are secure at all times. So you have to wonder if something malfunctioned here, or exactly what was going on, and what was the individual who was, we believe, on this tower doing. Was it someone who was working? We do believe that's what it is, but we haven't had any official confirmation of that. It's just the preliminary information that we got. That's one of the reasons why Skyfox is there. And so, you know what? We're going to keep this camera big, keep the camera on Washington Township, and Florence Township in Burlington County, as we listen in to Caroline Levitt.
Where? In the sanctuary city of Chicago in June of 2023. Again, another innocent American citizen had her life stolen from her because Democrats embrace reckless open border policies and reckless sanctuary city policies, which put criminals back into American communities. How many more Americans have to die before the Democrats end this madness? President Trump's position is very clear. He wants the federal government opened, he wants the Department of Homeland Security funded, and he wants the Democrat shutdown to end immediately. The president will also continue to call on Democrat leaders in sanctuary cities and states like J.B. Pritzker, where this young, beautiful girl was murdered, to cooperate with ICE and stop releasing illegal alien criminals into American neighborhoods. It is for the safety of every American citizen, including all of the people in this room. With that, I will take your questions, and here in our new media seat today, we have Gabe Fleischer.
Thanks, Caroline.
Thanks,
Two questions.
Gabe, for being here.
Thank you. I have two questions for you. First, if the war in Iran continues past this current round of peace talks, and with thousands of troops on their way to the Middle East, is there a point, either a number of ground troops or a number of days, at which the president will consider seeking authorization from Congress?
Well, as you know right now, that formal authorization from Congress is not necessary because we're currently in major combat operations in Iran. The Department of War and the President, as I said, estimated about a 4 to 6 week timeline for the full completion of these military combat operations. We're again
Okay, again, it does look like they're bringing someone out. They do appear to have on the same type of a uniform that the gentlemen who are helping them have on. I'm not sure if that helmet was put on the person to bring them down, to protect them while they were taken care of. Again, all of this live. This is a rescue from a water tower in Florence Township, New Jersey, which is Burlington County. As you can see, it looks like EMTs there are, getting a blanket on this guy. Obviously, when there is any kind of trauma, sometimes there's chills. So they want to make sure that this individual is well taken care of. And you see, even the people that went up to get this guy, to rescue him, they were wearing all of the protective gear, helmets included, to make sure that everyone was going to be safe. And you saw that there. You saw it looked like they were, they had some kind of apparatus kind of hooked on him as he was brought down. Again, this is happening live right now. This is a rescue from a water tower, a massive water tower in Florence Township, New Jersey, which is Burlington County. You can see that the weather looks fine. So we don't know exactly what happened here. We don't know why that individual was up there. We're not sure if they themselves were able to kind of radio for help or call for help in some way. What we do know is that certainly a lot of people there, including the Mansfield Township Ambulance Corps, is there to get him to safety. They got him down, and we are assuming he will now be taken to the hospital to be treated, or at a minimum to be checked out. So again, Florence Township, New Jersey, Burlington County, looks like they have some success there in getting the individual down and out of harm's way. We're going to go back to the White House, where Caroline Levitt, the press secretary for the president, is taking some questions.
They are productive, as the president said on Monday, and they continue to be. However, I saw a 15-point plan that was floated in the media. I would caution reporters in this room from reporting about speculative points or speculative plans from anonymous sources. The White House never confirmed that full plan. There are elements of truth to it, but some of the stories I read were not entirely factual. So I am not going to negotiate on behalf of the president here at the podium. What I will tell you is these talks are ongoing. We're not going to get into the nitty-gritty details that have been exchanged between the United States and Iran at this time.
Well, yesterday the president mentioned a very big present that the Iranians had given the U.S. He wouldn't go into detail, but was it that ship that was carrying 2 million barrels of oil that made it through the Strait of Hormuz?
I'll let the president speak on that at the appropriate time.
And then finally, Caroline, today Iraq's government reportedly is planning to lodge a protest with the U.S. According to the Wall Street Journal. There was an attack in Iraq that hit a military clinic, killing 7 soldiers reportedly. What's the U.S.'s response to that? Was the U.S. responsible for that attack?
I'll have to check in with the Pentagon on that, and we'll get you an answer.
Thank you, Caroline, too, if I may. Speaker Johnson today described the conflict as wrapping up, but the 82nd Airborne Division, they're typically deployed at the beginning of conflicts. So does the White House consider this conflict as wrapping up, or is it changing shape?
As I said at the beginning of my remarks, we are meeting our goals of Operation Epic Fury expeditiously. The president likes to maintain options at his disposal. It's the Pentagon's job to provide those options to the commander-in-chief. For any specifics on troop deployments, though, I would point you to the Pentagon.
And today, Philadelphia District Attorney Larry Krasner reiterated threats to potentially arrest ICE agents that were sent in to assist with these historically long TSA lines. He said, quote, "The president cannot pardon you." Has the president seen Krasner's comments? Does he have any response?
The president cannot pardon you for what? He's talking to the ICE agents who are handing out water bottles and are helping people move through lines at airports. It's a disgraceful comment. The men and women of ICE are great people. I would encourage this lawmaker, whose name I don't know and don't care to know, to actually sit down and speak with the ICE agents who are on the ground doing this important work, not just in our nation's airports, but again, to remove violent, dangerous, illegal alien criminals from our country, to protect this individual and all of us in this room and Americans across the country from murderers, pedophiles, and rapists who have been allowed into our country by Democrat politicians. Mario, good to see you.
Thank you, Caroline. Good to see you as well. Just given that the president postponed his original trip to China because of the war, should we infer that the war will be wound down and concluded by the time of that May 15th, 14th visit?
Again, as I've said, we've always estimated approximately 4 to 6 weeks, so you could do the math on that, Mario, but we do look forward, I know the president looks forward to going to China on May 14th and 15th, and of course, as always, we'll provide additional logistical details to all of you in the media for that trip, who I know look forward to coming with us as well.
One follow-up. Was that a precondition? Did the two leaders speak about the conclusion of the war? Was that a precondition for them to have this rescheduled meeting?
No, there was a discussion about the rescheduling of the meeting between the president and President Xi. President Xi understood that it's very important for the president to be here throughout these combat operations right now. He understood, obviously, the request to postpone and accepted it, which is why we have new dates on the books, and I'm happy to announce those to you today. Jennifer.
On the negotiations with Iran, are there still face-to-face talks planned, perhaps in Pakistan? And who do you think would probably be going?
Again, I've seen a lot of speculation and reporting about potential talks that could happen later this week. Nothing should be deemed official until it is announced formally by the White House. I would not get ahead of our skis on reporting about any talks this weekend until you hear directly from us.
Does the president think that all of the allies will go along with whatever the U.S. concludes with these Iranians? Are you expecting that Israel and all the other allies will follow whatever agreement is made?
I think the president has shown that he is absolutely the leader of the free world, the head of the most powerful military in the world, and in various examples, so the 12-day war between Iran and Israel, the ceasefire between Israel and Gaza, the president has shown a very unique skill at getting our allies to get on board with what's in the best interest of the United States, but also the world in cases of foreign policy like this. Ed.
Yeah, thanks, Carolyn. So, is there a time frame as to when the first oil tanker can go through the Strait of Hormuz freely?
It's a very good question, Ed. I don't have a specific timeline for you today, but it's obviously something the administration is working towards as quickly as we can. And with respect to oil, as you know, the administration has taken a number of actions to stabilize the markets. We directed the U.S. DFC to offer reasonably priced political risk insurance for takers through the Strait. We issued that temporary waiver to allow countries to purchase sanctioned Russian oil to alleviate global pressures. We're working with the IEA to coordinate the release of another 400 million barrels. We issued that 60-day Jones Day Act waiver. And then just today, EPA Administrator Lee Zeldin, if you missed it, in consultation with the Department of Energy, announced a temporary emergency fuel waiver to allow nationwide sales of E15, gasoline blended with 15% ethanol, to remove all federal impediments to selling E10 gasoline across the country. The emergency fuel waiver will temporarily waive the summer low volatility requirements and blending limitations for gasoline to provide additional flexibility to the fuel marketplace. So as far as tankers through the Strait, something we're tracking very closely, but obviously the administration is coming up with creative new solutions by the day to keep the price of oil stable, something the president wants to see. And I know Secretary Bessent, Secretary Wright, Secretary Burgum, EPA Administrator Zeldin are all working together closely to find ways to do that.
The President gave that 5-day timeline for pause in operations. Would a tanker going through the Strait of Hormuz be one of the conditions that he would extend that?
That's only something the President of the United States can answer. I won't get ahead of him.
Can I ask you about the TSA lines?
Sure.
Are the TSA lines, we've all seen the video of that from various airports, is that going to be what ends the stalemate in Congress to get DHS funded?
Well, look, it's the Democrats who have led to this stalemate over the past 6 weeks. The president and the Republicans' position has been very clear. Fund the Department of Homeland Security. And we have attempted in good faith numerous times, both the president himself and lawmakers on the Republican side on Capitol Hill, to go to the Democrats with reasonable offers, with real solutions. They'll ask for something, we'll give them that concession, and then they say, oh wait, that's not enough, actually. So I think that's why I said earlier, the cruelty is the point. They want this chaos. They want to distract, I think, from the success of our military overseas right now, totally obliterating the Iranian regime. And it's very unfortunate because there's only, the only people that are suffering from this are the American people. And I hear that Democrats might be flying out of town tomorrow. How convenient and lovely of them that they get to go to the airport,